Hey everyone, I'm Melissa.
I'm Jack.
I'm Andrea.
I'm Alex.
All right, and we're going to talk a little bit about the case study that I have today. So, Helen Bowers is a CEO of Bowers Machine Parts. Her dad was the previous owner and CEO, and he unfortunately passed away 3 years ago. Helen thought that he had treated his employees too friendly and treated them with having kid gloves on, and she just felt like things needed to be run a little bit differently. So she started taking away things like making shorter lunch breaks, taking away the softball field, and just didn't rely on her managers. No one trusted her anymore. And overall, the performance of the company, the levels have dropped. So today we are going to go over the issues from the company, analyze them, establish criteria, generate some solutions, and then find the one that works for everything. So some of the problems within the company that I found was just she was too hard on her employees. I just thought that taking everything away, it was just too fast after everything had happened. And I just want to get y'all's views and your opinions on what problems you thought were happening within the company.
You want to go first? Well, most likely production failure. If everyone's unhappy, then people start to quit or, in this case, also get fired, I'm guessing. And then that turns down production value and progress a whole lot.
Okay.
Having worked for companies that both took a very production approach and companies that took a very family-oriented approach, I can say as an employee, I was much more happy and much more willing to go out and work and put in the extra time in a company that gave you smaller perks, even if they didn't seem like a lot or didn't cost them anything. So while you do need to have a good median line of production and, kid gloves, I think the dad was wrong for giving them so much and maybe not focusing on what his company could have been.
Right.
And maybe she wanted to see it grow more, but I think she's losing a lot of what made that company an individual.
Just took it too
far because you're not going to get people that are going to want to work there. So I think there's probably a median line to be had between what the company could be and to keep the employees happy.
Okay.
I feel like that if everyone's not happy, it's not going to be like a good environment. It's just going to be negative vibes and that,
Okay. Yeah, no, I was kind of getting that. It was just, she was taking the wrong approach to everything. I think we're all agreeing on that, right? Okay, so that's going to go to the next, analyzing the problems. I think we should just pinpoint what we think the main problem is now that we talked about multiple things. I personally think it's a little bit about the communication climate. That's everything, including how she talks to them, how people all listen to each other, as well as body language and how we see each other. So to me, that's personally what I think is the main issue. Do y'all have any other ideas? What could be the main problem?
As far as focusing on relationships between the boss and employees, that's more important than most.
Okay.
By definitely having the ability to find your boss approachable, or at least your manager's approachable, because even the managers are unhappy, and once your managers are unhappy, it makes it a lot harder for the people under them to get anything done. So I think it's a really important guide to be able to approach your managers, and that your managers can approach their boss. So I think the biggest thing to have is an easy line of open communication between everyone, be it verbal or writing. But definitely communication seems to be the key issue, and not even what she's doing in the company, but how she's expressing it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Communication is the key.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about criteria that can help us solve our solutions. So remembering that criteria are the rules for solutions, solutions have to abide by. Excuse me. What are some that we can think of? I thought maybe some emotional tactics kind of could be some of them, as well as the timing. It was just probably all mixed together and just wasn't communicating right and connecting, if that makes any sense.
Well, they said all this started almost immediately after the dad died. And you mentioned an emotional connection between there, and based on how family oriented the company was, the employees actually probably had a connection to the father too, more than she realized. So just almost completely making it seem like he wasn't there probably made her seem colder than she actually is to all of her employees.
Yeah.
Made her seem less approachable. But really having even weekly meetings on what can be done,
Right.
on what the employees think. So really having employee feedback, I think, is going to be a big plus for her.
I think because that was one of the things her father did. It was listening to employee problems, but I think maybe her thoughts were just taking it that he took it too far and just was too lenient, whereas she wanted to kind of create more of like a structure.
Mhm.
And then I think her like going about that was just the wrong way, and just
Too aggressive.
right. And her communication with like a lot of her employees were there for 20 years and they left because of the way she handles things, and it was just not taken the right way. So, all right, now that we thought of some of those things, what are some things to help improve the problem that we have? Why do we think communication is important in in a workplace, and what do you think?
Well, I mean, communication for the most part is key to any industry or company because of the fact that if not everyone is speaking on the same level and is on the same page, things don't work as smoothly.
Mhm.
And then when things don't work as smoothly as they ought to, production sucks. You have more unhappy employees, and then that turns to people quitting, people slacking off, people just all around being miserable at work. And the more miserable you are, the less you want to actually come and do your job.
Right.
And with that, you just set an unhealthy work environment. So communication is key for a healthier work environment.
Okay. And so, what are some solutions that we can improve, like the work ethic as well? Because, I think talking and helping them and understanding her, maybe if she just communicated her vision as well, it would make them understand, okay, well, that's what you want to do. You want to help improve. You don't want to just tear it all down. And I think that's where the line was drawn as well, is nobody understood what she was trying to do. And again, she just took the wrong approach. So what do we think is something that can actually help? What is one main solution? We said that the main problem is like the communication climate, but what is something that we can do to help, the situation?
Easier ways for employees and management to be able to voice their opinions,
Mm-hmm.
In a constructive manner and not so much a shouting manner, which can easily erupt if people are unhappy. Like I brought up earlier, weekly or even bi-monthly meetings,
Mm-hmm.
just for everybody to voice their opinions, and even anonymous. It's cliche and it's old, but boxes that you can suggestion boxes.
Right.
It's just it's going to fall on her to actually have the maturity to look at it.
Right.
Or having like little dinners or like little parties where you can just actually communicate with people and talk about like what needs to be done. And stuff like
Kind of
that.
get closer with the employees
Exactly.
and everybody at once. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Any
I think
ideas?
company events such
Okay.
as
Softball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Instead of taking that away, she
Mhm.
probably should use it to her benefit
Right.
and maybe got something out of it. So let's think of one big main thing now that we can use to actually help the company. We talked about some different ones. What do we all agree on that could be beneficial for the company that can help the communication problem?
We all said a company event of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Be it a dinner, be it a lunch that she
Yeah.
throws one week, or a employee appreciation thing. I think is just a big gathering where they can all be together.
Just
and
more
feel safe.
events.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
fully taking away what her father did, but
Right.
making it more,
Fun.
within
Company
range.
oriented.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
right.
I think as far as he said, company meetings bi-monthly or such are definitely
Mm-hmm.
an improvement on the communication level.
Okay.
And that should help.
And for the managers and even the employees, incentives to put in more work,
Mm-hmm.
bonuses at the end of quarterly if
Yeah.
the company reaches a certain profit margin.
Okay.
Tends to make people want to work more without really saying you have to work more.
Okay. Well, I think we all agree that maybe talking to Helen and telling her maybe slow down a little bit and do some more company, events and things like that could maybe really help out the company as well.
I agree.
think we all agree.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
I think this was a good meeting. So, hopefully this goal will help improve this business.
Hopefully.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys.
All right. Yep.
Welcome.